Are we seeing the shift in inflection point that's happening now because of a technical breakthrough, or is it a methodology, like they're taking more data, or they understand it? Like, what's causing this shift that's happening right now?
If I think of in brain-computer interfaces, one that's capital, better hardware platforms being developed, but also from a data perspective, 25 years ago, the kinds of computers that you needed to use to run decoders and the kinds of machine learning approaches you had to do decoding from large populations of neurons was immature. And now we're drafting behind, $1 trillion+ of investment into edge compute and to AI. And so we have just this embarrassment of riches on the data side that we can tap into.
Whenever somebody asks me like the why now, why are we starting to see all this? I think really it comes down to three things in my mind. The first one is really with DARPA at the helm, funding an unbelievable amount of research, basic science research over, a decade plus, probably 2 decades time, of trying to augment the nervous system, primarily in the setting of some kind of disability, which answered a lot of the fundamental questions of like how you go about creating these technologies and creating, I guess, AI architectures that can decode the electrical activity or send the electrical activity back into the body. So we're just now entering the period, or over the past maybe 5 years, have just entered the period in my mind where the basic science has hit the point for where it's now ready for commercialization, where it's no longer a bunch of feasibility stuff. It's about how do you package that commercially into something, which creates another order of magnitude problem, which is like, how do you commercialize these things? And in order to have a successful medical product like this, you have to have the ability to do edge compute. You have to have low power electronics. You have to have certain technologies that can go into the form factor that's required for like a scalable commercial product that have just now started to come into a commercial setting in order to do that. And then 3 is I think that, obviously with Elon and Neuralink and the public persona that's come to be with neurotech, that's created this impression that everything's just now happening, whereas there was a lot going on behind the scenes before it really became mainstream through this key individual getting involved in the field.
I agree with you that the clinical existence proofs are essential. It's very hard for funders, for investors to kind of get behind a movement until they've seen end-to-end application. And so whereas, let's say through various research programs, like our understanding of the brain, how things work, it's been maturing over the last 20 years. It's really been now these clinical demonstrations where someone actually gets a really meaningful benefit,
right.
That says like, okay, now it's ready. For sure.
When I think about the DARPA funding, and this is like an N of 1 situation. I remember meeting somebody and they were like, yeah, I got funding for some prosthetic, study. And then it's like, okay, so then what happens when this is over? Oh, I'm going to apply for another grant. And it was this constant cyclical nature of just like, I'm chasing the grant. I'm like, so when does the leg or arm, I forget the case in this, but actually get out there and
it takes someone crazy like the two of us, right? So much amazing advancement is left on the shelves of academia because it is just this cycle of tenured professors or students or whoever it might be doing research so they can publish, so they can get more money and move on to the next thing. And so once they answer a question, that they got grant funding to answer, they check the box, complete, on to the next. They don't give a shit about if it actually has like a scaled impact on society or anything. That's not their job.
Or maybe they do give a shit about it, but there's just no one to pick it up from there. I mean, we know from the time we started our companies and we were like, oh yeah, everything's been demonstrated, we're ready to go. Like from the time that someone did a thing.
You have to be a certain level of naive to be an entrepreneur.
Totally.
From the time you did it once and you showed it was possible to the time you can do it repeatedly all the time in a commercially viable way, that's where really most of the work is. That's why electric cars stalled as long as they did before there could be an electric car industry.